Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today, we're discussing Farscape, Season 4, Episode 2. What Was Lost? Part 1, Sacrifice. Team Elac meet up with Dargo and Joel at an archaeological dig on a doomed planet and get heavily distracted by peacekeepers and the old woman.
Granny.
John even points out he does not know her name.
If Granny is good enough for him, it's good enough for me.
I'm sure someone will ask her at some point.
Nah.
How did you find this episode?
I like that we still don't know what Erin is up to, where she is, that they are content to take their time and let us squirm a bit. I don't think this episode is all that satisfying on its own, but it is part of a longer storyline. The cliffhanger doesn't do much for me. There's no way John is dead. You're not going to convince me of that. But it's okay.
I feel this episode's quite boring.
I can see that.
About half of it is people wandering around being confused.
One thing I really don't like about this episode is that there's a lot of natural lighting and it makes the makeup look really bad, especially for Jewel.
Jules' makeup is often a bit hit and miss, I find. Sometimes she looks a bit alien, other times she just looks like a person wearing a lot of makeup.
Yeah, and it's worse here.
She has permanent red hair and slightly different makeup from season 3.
Oh, another thing I didn't like.
Oh, it's all coming out now.
I don't like Scorpius on a leash. I felt sorry for him.
You should feel sorry for him. It's sad. That was actually Wayne Pygram's idea. The whole being leashed up like a dog.
Well, at least he was into it then.
Oh, well, I mean, I think he suggested it because he thought it would be a good thing to put in the show, not something he was personally invested in.
The only part of that I liked was when Greza said change him. I really liked that wording, as if he's wearing a diaper or something, that kind of phrasing. It highlighted how she sees him as this thing to be taken care of, like a helpless baby.
I'm going to point out that you predicted Scorpius would still be alive, but it's a very safe bet. But it's not even like a thing that he's still alive. It's just like, yeah, sure.
No one is surprised.
What did surprise me, though, was when it said previously on Farscape, it also showed stuff that was not in the previous episode.
It's still previous.
It's never been on Farscape. It had clips that had never happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with Greza and Scorpius talking.
That flew by me.
It was a deleted scene from the first episode, which is on the DVDs. If you want to see that scene, it's probably on YouTube or whatnot.
So it wasn't worth being in the episode, but it's worth referring to later?
They needed the plot point from it, but it didn't thematically fit in the first episode. So they just put it in a clip on previously. It's really weird and a little bit confusing. This episode is really weird.
Lots of John getting high on Granny's supply.
Yeah, again and again and again.
Sometimes a double hit, sometimes not.
That was all, whatever. That sort of stuff I kind of find fillery. It has a weird vision, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's basically just delivering plot points directly into the plot. But other than that, it's just slow-paced and mostly wishy-washy visuals for the sake of it. What I found was weird was that there was a sea monster. And
yes.
it seemed like it would be a sort of antagonist type episode where they're getting killed one by one or something. But no, he's just wandering around later on.
He's just hanging out.
And then he saves John and talks to him and stuff. Who is this sea monster?
He's Granny's best friend.
Grandma has no friends. Okay, so this old woman is really strange, but there was a really funny scene where she's trying to get John to kill people.
Oh, yeah. Keeps egging him on.
I found that hilarious.
One thing I found weird was that Dargo killed Vela and no one seemed to care.
I'm not sure what they were going for with that. So Granny's wandering around with a gun, and Doug was wandering around with the carver. Presumably, there's more than one, but he at least has one anyway. So are there different weapons? Why show Granny wandering around with a gun? That doesn't mean anything.
We're supposed to be tricked into thinking she's about to kill Vela because Vela hears someone near her and she's about to be killed. And they show mostly shots of Granny. And then, oh, look, Dargo did it. But then no one cares.
I doubt Dargo did it. That's not in his character. Or did he?
I hope he didn't kill her.
So assuming he didn't kill her, then the only other people were the Interion guard, I guess a sea creature. I don't know, it's like they tried to make it a mystery, but nobody cares. And I don't just mean the characters don't care, I didn't care as a viewer.
I didn't care either.
And it's such a specific weapon. Like, if they hadn't showed Dargo finding the carver or Granny wandering around with a gun, if they just showed John climbing up and saying, where's she gone with my gun? And then he sees the flash, wouldn't that have been just as good?
I still wouldn't care because Vela was annoying. And I was glad to see her end.
Sure. I'm not going to cry about her character disappearing. It just seemed that there was a lot of fluff trying to pad out that murder, and it was all pointless. That's why I complained that a lot of this episode is people wandering around confused.
Oh, I'm also confused why Greza wants to swap fluids with John.
So she's got that boob sweat thing going on.
Yes. Her magic boob sweat that seduces.
Maybe it's just regular boob sweat. Assuming it's magic from a gland. Although boobs are glands, so... Okay, anyway. She uses her gland fluid and hypnotizes people. So then Crichton was her friend, and then she was testing his loyalty. I figured she was going to get him to do something, but then she just started getting a bit sexy. I don't really understand.
Right, that's where my confusion comes from. Maybe she just wanted some action.
Wait, what? This wasn't really consensual. If she got some action, that's not okay. It's a bit tenuous that she's even interested in Crichton. She said she's just interested because the Scarans want him.
And Scorpius hates him. But that's not enough for me. Why That doesn't explain why she would become invested in John.
She was keen to find a diplomatic solution with the Scarans. So if John is an enemy of the Scarans, or at least a wanted person, then that's a good bargaining chip.
Okay, you did a better job than the episode did.
Yeah, this is based on what she said when they were on the command carrier and in the weird flashback previously on Farscape, but not really. Like, if you piece it together, the information is there to give her a plausible motive, but they don't substantiate it in the episode. So John had a dream and then went and dug up the Millennium Puzzle from Yu-Gi-Oh! If you haven't seen Yu-Gi-Oh!, I'm talking about the little gold pyramid thing.
I haven't seen it, but I got it with context. I'm not that dense.
And it had Interior writing, early Sabatian writing, and the Eye of Horus, Egyptian hieroglyph on it.
Wait a minute, that's from Earth.
Yes. There's no way anyone in the entire galaxy could ever make that symbol, ever.
Nope.
I wish he'd brought up the fact that Interians and humans are genetically related.
I was waiting for that.
Because I'm sure you remember, because I bring it up from time to time on the podcast, but if that has not been mentioned since like the start of season 3.
That is precisely why I remember, because you brought it up. And I think, had you not, it would have completely left my memory.
When I first watched it, I forgot as well. It's a small detail, but then when they say, oh, it's got an Interior symbol and a human symbol, that is quite different when you know there's a genetic relation.
That's an opportunity screaming for you to mention the genetic link.
Yes, one character should say it's a coincidence, and John should say no, because we're also genetically related. So it makes sense there might be some cultural relation. Obviously, it's Stargate. Little joke there, because Ben Browder appears in Stargate and the Egyptian hieroglyphs. I've over-explained it, so it's less funny.
Keep going, maybe it'll become funny again.
Wrap round. What did he do with that little pyramid anyway?
I think Granny took it. I don't remember.
3 Darnesk probes were dropped from space onto the planet Arnesk. Arnesk?
One of those.
And they screwed up the planet.
Something about magnets.
Yeah. How do they work? Dated memes. I found it really hard to track how many probes they had, because they said she'd found another one, and then Sea Monster Guy had one in a hole ground.
Okay, that's 2.
But she found a second one though. She being Villa, so that's all 3, and then John has a vision where 3 of them land in kind of the ocean, I guess. I don't know, I just found it hard to track the 3 probes. Like, if you say there's 3 special, very powerful items, kind of like number them or something. It's really hard to keep track of who's got them. I guess. Well, did you find it? Did you find it hard to track?
I didn't find it hard to track because I wasn't tracking. I didn't care. I figure when someone gets all of them, or one is destroyed, or something happens that's a big deal, then I'll notice. I didn't see the need to track them.
They also did not look old.
Oh, not at all.
They look brand new, like they were freshly bought from IKEA. So I understand about not caring about the probes. I also didn't care, and I was putting in effort to try and care. But if you have something where the audience is not predisposed to care about it, you should try and make it easy. Like, just make them all like a different color or have a big number. So these aren't good suggestions. It's not my job to figure this out, but it definitely would have helped to understand what the situation with the probes was, because then Grandma is trying to kill John at the end because he saw where one of the probes fell in the ocean, and it's not even clear if it's still there or why it would be after hundreds of years.
I guess that's why I didn't care about that scene, because her reason for trying to kill him didn't hold any weight for me, and also I know he's not dead, so that's not a good cliffhanger.
Plus, we don't know what John knows. He saw the Millennium Puzzle, and then he found it in the same place. That's fine because we saw him see that. We can compose those two situations as a viewer.
Sure.
He just saw the probes in the sky, and then she says, did you see where they landed? And he's like, yeah, sure. It's really hard to come to terms with how this finale thing plays out, because we can't empathize with what he saw. He saw it fall in like a specific place that he could pinpoint, and it's like, right, it's there, I've got it. That would have some meaning. Or if it just like fell somewhere in the ocean, that's completely meaningless. So there's like no investment for this finale. Everyone's motives are just a mess. I'm not a fan of this episode, to be honest. That wasn't obvious.
I figured that part out. I'm more invested in you talking about how terrible this is rather than the episode itself.
There's worse episodes of Farscape. It's just very bland and uneventful.
It's bland and uneventful, but it's also a reintroduction of Greza, who seems like is going to be the next big baddie. And if this is how you're setting her up, starting her out, that's pretty bad.
She is not an interesting antagonist at this stage. She's coming too heavy with the sexy hypno power. That kind of power, the kind of cult thing where people get turned to the opposite side. That's entertaining. Well, sometimes it's entertaining anyway. But just like everyone else, I have no idea why she's particularly there. If she wanted John, then she's got him.
Right, good job. You got him.
Yeah, just leave. You don't really care about the rest of them.
You marched in with your peacekeepers. It was easy. Now take him away.
Instead, she takes him down to the seaside and kind of, we don't know how far she goes with him.
The seaside is very romantic.
It's not romance if one person is being drugged.
It's romantic for her.
Well, she could well be a twisted individual.
This is the only way she can go on dates.
She has serious problems then. But she will fit in with the peacekeepers. They all have pretty serious power issues. Rigel and Skozu were mucking about on Epilogue.
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot.
How did John and Chiana get down to the planet?
Parasailing. Wait, that doesn't make sense.
Because Sikozu is desperately trying to get the module to start and let her fly around, and indeed she did. If they didn't go in the module, what ship did they take to land? Because I thought they didn't have any way of going anywhere.
They were beamed down.
I guess Epilogue still had transport pods left, but he never used the transport pods to leave in the past. Yeah. Okay, anyway. Do you have a quote from this episode you would like to share?
Never bathe, never bathe. It washes off the juice.
It's a good line because, well, it's revolting.
Yes, it's quite gross.
It reminded me a lot of what you said at the end of season 3, how she's a confused old lady that sometimes says wise things. Because that entire time she was just talking gibberish, and the particularly awful line about never bathing. And then at the end she says, if they all died, why are there no bones? Which actually is clever.
Oh yeah, I really liked that line, and it was a good point.
Although, didn't they die hundreds of years ago?
Yeah, but they have crazy bones that last forever.
You would expect some bones, probably.
Or burial sites, maybe. No, not if they're slaughtered.
Well, they died due to the Donetsk probe, so there should be probably some bones. It's great that she had to say all the stuff about not bathing first, though. She has her priorities really sorted out.
I stand by my assessment of her.
You are not wrong so far.
Also, don't listen to Grandma. Please wash off any juices.
If you want to have a social life, I would suggest bathing.
After she said that line, I looked at her differently. I imagined this horrendous odor,
That classic old person smell.
but way more pungent.
293 years old. Oh, hey, they hit on a classic trope, and I have to mention this before the end.
Grandma punched a guy.
That is not a classic trope.
It should be.
Fair enough, I won't disagree. The monk dudes in the vision were chanting the theme tune to this show.
That's a trope?
Yeah, the theme tune appearing in World.
Oh, I thought specifically monks chanting.
No, well, it's not that specific.
I hate when shows do that and I notice it.
Did you notice this one?
No, so I liked it.
Oh, okay, I did notice, and I hated it.
Okay, that's fair. Had I noticed, I would be right there with you.
Yes, it's pretty much always bad.
It's always jarring. No one's going to think that's clever. It takes you out of it every single time. It's like the Wilhelm scream. Once you know about it, I hate hearing it.
Spoiling the magic of cinema. Speaking of spoiling the magic of cinema, should we go into the second part?
Yes, let's wash off the juice of this episode.
Agreed. Well, let's go.
Good.